Know how Celandia became the richest city in the world? 2 words. Point Lemaine. If the wilds could ever be tamed, it was gonna happen right here. But now, the greatest outpost past the sea line is nothing but a freak show. The Army's triggers once had the place on lockdown. Kid might as well pick up where they left off. Blam! Just like my fighting days. Gun like that can even put the wild in check. Point Lemaine seen better days for sure, but it ain't done. The whole place shudders in a fit. The Grand Rail of Point Lemaine. Not only is it still there, it still works. Of course, it's no longer shipping hides and alloys and spices, but it can give the kid a lift. Just as long as he can stay clear of the trouble on the tracks. Grand Rail's all grown over with things that Calamity chewed up and spat out. Things eager to take back their turf. You don't let so much as one of those things slip by. Settled in like they own the place. Takes fancy footwork on the rail, what with wallflowers, coffin fronts everywhere. Of course, the Grand Rails see much more fighting in bygone times. Near on 50 years ago, first shots fired in the Celandian War. It was right here that Zolf's forefathers decided to mix it up. Okay, so maybe we didn't get their sign-off on the whole Grand Rail thing. That was bad. The rail must have shook the Ura to the bone down in those dens of theirs. Well, the rail won't last for long after the kid took the shard. It's still got one good run in store for him, though. Rotten wood there on the rails turned it into swamp weed central. Ever tried dancing side to side while holding your breath? I'm choking on swamp weed. While beggars trying to look me in the eye. Well, let me tell you, it ain't fun. got company on the radio station waiting for him. Not just another wallflower or pincushion, mind you. At first, he thinks it's Zulf. This is for you, says the man. Then wham. When the kid comes to, the man's long gone, but something else is there. The only words Kid recognizes on that parchment are for Zia. Well, what's a kid to do? He took the shard, he took the hit, and he took that note. That note cuts straight to the heart of things, don't it? The note says it plain. Zia, go east to learn the truth about the Calamity and our people. I'll be waiting. Sincerely, Zulf. It ain't too late to unlock the potential of this place. We need an awful big lost and found under the circumstances. It wasn't fixed, it was unbroken. Kid takes another drag, goes out like a light. There's something you should know about the kid, but let me take it from the top. Hardly had a moment's rest since all this started. Fair to say he's led a hard life, supposing what he says in his sleep ain't no lie. He never knew his old man, but he had his mama to take care of. Frail thing with pure white hair like his. Having his mama's hair did the kid no favors while he was growing up, but he learned to hold his own out there. working out, so the kid signs up for a turn on the rippling walls. Make his mama some money. Thanks to folks like the kid, the walls kept Caelondia safe from whatever's out there. The elements, the Ura, you name it. Once the kid done his time, he hurried on home. Turns out his mama's time was done too. The city had nothing for him. The money he'd been sending home was nowhere to be found either. So what'd the kid do? Why, he went right on back to the walls for another 5 years. In the history of Caelondia, nobody's ever volunteered for a second shift on the walls. Out there, kid learned to fend for himself, learn to build, learn to break. In time, the kid earned good standing with the marshals. They trusted him to scout out farther than anybody. One night, on one of his expeditions, the ground beneath him shuddered, cracked, and split apart. He saw nothing where the world used to be. The Calamity happened just like that. All the kid had to work with was his hammer and the clothes on his back. Through twisted streets, he ran with nothing but the city crest and an old stranger's voice to guide him. Finally arrived at Caelondia's vaunted safe haven. He and no one else. got was more thankless work from a man who ain't even asked his name. Sure, I may be the one who dreamt up the walls and the Bastion, but the kid made them real, not me. I'd like to say I'll never forget him, or what he's doing, what he's done. I surely would. Menders. They had thankless jobs, the most important kind. I've asked a lot of the kid, but this is something he's done on his own. The shards are getting harder to find. Not everything blew up in the Calamity. Why, Colford Cauldron here blew up way ahead of its time. The cauldron boiled over some 300 years ago. They say it filled the skies with ash and the lakes with molten rock. If you wanted to survive something like that, you had to learn to adapt. It takes a certain stubborn pride to keep on living in a place like this. As for us, we learned an awful lot from Colford Cauldron. That learning led to some interesting inventions. The raw power of the world fell right into our hands. Can't fault people for their natural curiosity. Sure, we dusted off a good many secrets out here. But we discovered other things we're better off not knowing. The taste of air so hot it sticks to your lungs. Never thought we'd find so much life through all that ash. Place is inhospitable as they come. But still we pressed on. After all, when we look down inside Colford Cauldron, look down through all the smoke and flames, we saw in there the heart of the world, the heart of now laid bare by the Calamity. We had to have it. As for the kid, he just has to get that shard out of there. Too bad taking that thing woke up every last stink-eye from here to Jocelyn Bog. Kid's thinking he's got to trek all the way back around the cauldron. Luckily, the cauldron cooked up a little shortcut for him. Sure, it ain't the most convenient path. Biggest stink eye he's ever seen's waiting for him on the other side. Well, it ain't polite to stare. But where there's one stink eye, there's always more. The cauldron's tenants all gather up to bid the kid a fond farewell. Shedding tears for him, though. With a good spyglass, you can still see the cauldron from the city. But all the fires died out. There's nothing left of it. It comes back looking like the inside of a chimney. The shard works like a charm. You can hear the monument's heartbeat again. We're all a little short on friends these days, so that's a welcome sight. Kid arrives just in time to sample Zia's famous cooking. The arsenal's complete in case we need protection. Want to stay alive in the wilds, pack a pair of pistols and a good blade. Solid frame can put an extra sting in every slice. We spotted a pecker carrying a shard to Mount Zan. too much too fast, and it all goes to his head. I've said a lot about the kid, but he ain't the only one wrapped up in all this. What's he thinking? Well, let me see if I got this straight. I only heard it once. There was a normal Ura girl, but she wasn't born in the tasseled terminals like the rest of her people. She was from Zealandia. Her folks were orphaned in the war, taken in and raised inside the city, on condition they would never return to the terminals. Refugees who came into the city had to stay for life. It was a way to reduce the risk of city secrets leaking out. The mama passed away from birthing complications, leaving the girl trapped inside that city with no one but her father. Was sharper than a brusher's pike, so he got a job working for the city's mancers. His daughter barely saw him. Her father told her nothing of her Ura heritage. He told her nothing of the mancers. It's for your own good, he said. She took to studying the arts, learned more through music than history books, gained a knack for strings and songs. First, she tried to be like other girls, but her classmates spread word that her father was an Ura trader, selling out the city. One young man stood up for her, or so he led her to believe. He knew much of her heritage, and she grew fond of him. The young man convinced her to take him to her family den to meet her father. Spoke of how he wanted to meet a man from the terminals. When the young man greeted greeted her father in the Ura's native language, her father flew into a fit of rage and threw them out. The young man never told her that the Ura's native language is not to be used by foreigners. To do so is a terrible insult. Then that she decided to escape. The two of them could flee the city together and go to the Tassel terminals. They would hide inside a garbage bin until it got ingested by a scumbag. Then let him slosh on out of the city for disposal. But the authorities were already there when that scumbag sidled up to the city walls. The young man had sent the authorities a tip. Told him her father was using her to sell secrets to the Tassel terminals. She and her father were arrested for treason, but her father got a deal. Returned to work for the Mansers, and she'd go free. Before they parted ways for the last time, her father whispered a desperate plea. Hurry home to the den and lock yourself in. She did as she was told, and deep down underground inside that den, she found a journal written in her father's hand. We'll be there before next day, the door to the den turned to ash. The girl came up for air, and she saw the Calamity all around her. When the kid wakes up, his world's still in pieces, just the way he left it. That ought to give those dueling pistols a little extra kick.